Good evening, everyone. This is Select Board Water Commissioner meeting for August 28th of 2023. Tonight's agenda, we have Franklin County Sheriff John Grismore is supposed to speak with us, Sheldon Historical Society, and then we need to sign the Sheldon Springs Bicycle Pedestrian Scoping Study, Sheldon Town Highway number 2, Bridge 11 Community Questionnaire, and sign warrants and approve some meeting minutes. And you guys are here for anything special, or?
Oh yeah, I would like to talk about the speed on the road, especially by my place. I've been hit twice in 6 years. Totaled the car once. And I got grandkids. I can't tell you how many close calls. You take a look. Those cars are going 50 miles an hour by the time they get down towards my place. It's just a matter of time before something tragic happens. I don't know if it means a speed bump. Apparently the speed sign doesn't really do too much. If they're going 25 miles at that point with the stop sign not too far, they ain't stopping.
No.
I can't tell you how many times during the week, pulling out of the driveway, it's just so close. I mean, you take a look, left, right, left, you pull out, and if they're going 50 miles an hour, they're there on.
Where's the closest speed limit sign to you?
I think down below Tatros, going up the hill. I don't know, the closest one would probably be the one up here. So that doesn't seem to cut it. Nobody stops. I mean, I got hit, even though backing up driveway is illegal. That's what they tell me. I was on my right side of the road when I got hit, and the skid mark was 90 feet skid mark.
Yeah.
But because I backed out the driveway, not drove out the driveway, it was considered my error. But even though they were going twice the speed limit, it was still my fault. So I don't know how we're going to, like I said, speed bump or slow them down. But I'm just curious of what's he got.
Yeah, we're trying to figure all this out here. We've had some complaints about not stopping here at the intersection, and that's why we're supposed to be speaking to Mr. Grismore tonight to see about coverage. We used to have coverage with Franklin County Sheriffs, and then they got too busy and didn't have enough staff, and so we haven't had any coverage for a while, but we're trying to figure out if we have any other options there, see what we can do, because the biggest thing, I mean, like you said, you can put signs and everything else up, and
Does it work?
if there's nobody there to enforce it, it's not gonna, we're not gonna get too far, I don't think. But
Usually when I get company, I stand out in the middle of the road and I guide whoever's at my house saying, okay, it's clear. Because I can see way up. If I'm over toward Paulette, I can see up further.
yeah,
But I tell my kids, when they're adults, if you're gonna pull up, you need to pull out quick. There's no hesitation. If you're gonna hesitate, you're gonna get hit. So,
yeah.
but,
Yeah, that seems to be the main thing here. Everybody's in a hurry, I guess, because
Yeah.
all the roads, we've had a lot of troubles with them.
Yeah, and when I got totaled my car was I drove out and I was pulling down the driveway and they slammed into me. But apparently it didn't hurt the car too bad because they pulled out and went around and never stopped. So, yeah. But yeah, I guess if it's 25 miles an hour, if they weren't going to stop, they were going to stop at 25. But the damage would hopefully have been minimal. So,
Yeah. Well, did you get that figured out?
No, we have to call.
Okay. Yeah, hold on. What do you have to do to call out here? Tim?
None.
Nothing? Hi, John. That's better. That's what's on.
They should be in some.
Right? Push the hole.
Who's in it?
You're on that damn thing. I can't get that figured out. Put it on hold or something.
John, you there? One. Line 2's on hold. Someone's on hold. This can end.
You had him for a minute, did you? Steve?
Yeah, I did. He said, all right. I was trying to turn the volume up and I
He shouted
pushed
down.
the wrong button there. Last time we tried that phone, we ended up using a cell phone because it couldn't get the thing figured out. Yeah, start.
Why is it not?
Get the volume down there.
Oh, can't see the screen.
Is it charged? Yes.
Yeah. It won't let me go any higher. Come on. There we go. Shut again. Yeah, well, let me turn up the volume. Then the screen also goes blank on me. Yeah, nothing over. Okay, so I want to go higher. I don't think so.
Hi, John.
Yes.
Hey, this is Steve Dodd from the town of Sheldon.
Hi, now I can hear
Yeah, I got you on speaker here in front of everybody. Yeah, we're having trouble with the phone here in the office, so I got you on my cell phone, but
you. Awesome. Well, sorry I couldn't be there in person, but I had a little bit of a cold there, folks, so I'm sure you're happy that I'm not sharing it with all of you.
yeah, we don't need that, I guess.
No. So where would you like to be here?
Well, we'd like an update on what's going on there at the sheriff's office and if you have adequate staff and stuff to maybe try to give us some coverage up here.
Sure. So what we're doing is, as we look to in the year, it's been pretty public knowledge that we're transitioning away from St. Albans Town. So that affords us the opportunity to start looking at some other partnerships that have been neglected for many years, and Sheldon being one of them. So we've already engaged into a partnership with Franklin that's on a kind of a limited hour coverage basis, but it does provide them with some service to at least reestablish a presence and try to get some of these long-going unaddressed issues, the attention that they deserve. And particularly what I'm thinking about is speeding. Traffic-related offenses are on the rise. They have been on the rise. They continue to be the number one complaint that we get in the county. So that's kind of what we're looking at doing, and really thinking about what are the opportunities that we have between now and a year from now, so that when that when June 30th comes of next year, we're in a position to be able to take on more dedicated services that we can currently provide. So that's kind of the thought process behind reaching out to all of you as we start to set the stage for the next several years of police coverage.
Okay. So what are you like a halftime up there in Franklin, or are you?
We're doing, the contract total, let me get it in front of me here. I think for Franklin specifically, the contract total is 160 hours.
Okay.
And it addresses a certain amount of hours per month that we kind of work into the schedule. And focusing on the areas, like we would with you, focusing on the areas and the time frames that are important to you.
Okay.
So they provided us, through the conversations with those folks, they provided back a list of areas that they wanted us to focus on, and then gave us an idea on the particular times of day that they had issues. And their concerns are really just around traffic, traffic enforcement.
Yep.
And so that's what we're focusing on.
Is that 160 hours for the year, 160 hours for how long?
It's 160 hours for the remainder of the fiscal year, which takes us to June 30th, 2024. So we basically did it. That's a year contract, if you want to think of it that way, with them.
Yep.
I mean, not about a month shy of a year, because by the time we got it all signed and implemented, it didn't really start until August 1st. And again, their focus was on certain months. So, for example, August, September, October, May, and June. So they didn't need or want any additional services in the other months. So November, December, January, February, March, April, they didn't want services for them.
Yeah, you guys got any questions for me?
What is your capability for ATV patrol?
So we certainly have that capability. So we have a side-by-side, and we've got folks that can operate it. So that's certainly something that we can assist with. If you're thinking of that being like an on-trail use, if it's off-trail use, we certainly can address those issues via cruiser.
Just curious what your capability was.
Yeah, we do partner with VASA, and to help assist with some of the patrol needs that they have on the trails, and the VASA approved trails that are employed in our county. And we've got outside of our county too. Some agencies don't have the resources. I'm talking about the equipment resources that we have, so we've helped out with other counties in the past, but we certainly can handle that.
So your contract, if we decided to do, something, with the price per hour would be dependent on the times and days that we wanted you, or?
Basically, well, not really. It's basically a set hourly fee of $66 an hour. So it doesn't really matter when you're looking to have those supports, because we've certainly working into our schedule to the best of our ability. Obviously, staffing contingent.
Right, yeah.
But we can be flexible, we can, and certainly want to be flexible to be able to address the challenges that you have. And we hear from, residents of Sheldon from time to time about, the ability for us to come up and help out. And, without a contract, we don't have a lot of ability to do that, but.
Yeah.
We did put our speed card in there because we got some complaints about speeding. We have gone up a little bit here and there to try to help out with certainly some issues that are right there in the center of town on Main Street and Bridge Street. So, but there's issues everywhere, right? We all know how horrible 105 is, and we've partnered with Governor's Highway Safety folks to really increase the enforcement on 105, and that's a multi-agency effort to try to address some of the speeding on 105, which is really bad, but it's bad everywhere. Traffic violations are bad everywhere, and it's really what we're looking at doing, folks, is getting back in the game to reel in all the issues that really spawned out of COVID. When COVID came, more vehicle violations just spiked, and there weren't the appropriate level of attention there wasn't the appropriate level of attention being placed on more vehicle we're trying to reestablish ourselves in the county to get some of these, issues under control once again.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it, like with us here, it's a lack of any presence, so, people know that. And
And we've seen it in other towns too, we've seen it in Richford, we've seen it in Enosburg, and historically and in years past, those areas have been, quite frankly, neglected. And, my philosophy, my team's philosophy is that we're not gonna be, putting all of our eggs in one basket like had been done previously. We have an obligation and a responsibility to other towns that need our services. And so we've cut drastically the hours that we're providing coverage in St. Albans Town as an example, so that we can allocate those resources to other parts of the county that we've had these long-standing partnerships with, but just got neglected. So we're not wanting to do that anymore. We're wanting to spread ourselves more evenly and more effectively around the county to the best of our ability. And, because everybody needs some, with the limited resources we have, state police are really struggling with headcount. Every agency is, so we're trying to see what we can do to at least get ourselves out there a little bit more universally than just focusing on one specific town like has been the case in the past.
What sort of documentation and records and information are you going to provide back to us when you provide us our coverage? We say we have 2 hours a day or an hour, or whatever it may be. What are you going to provide back to us proving that you were here?
So, what would you like? Certainly as part of our standard contracts, we provide monthly reporting to show folks kind of where the activity is. So we certainly can do something like that. It just depends on really what you're looking for and all of that. We can customize reporting however is most palatable for all of you.
What do your current staffing levels look like? You spoke about dedicated officers or when, staff and allows. And previously we had a contract under the previous sheriff. And, at the time we were telling residents who had concerns to contact the sheriff's department without knowing that there were staffing issues and that coverage had fallen off. So I'm curious, if the town were to enter into a new contract with you, what does that look like? What is your current staffing levels? And how many hours, what does actual dedicated service look like from the sheriff's department right now?
Sure. So, and that is a very varied response I'm going to give you, because again, staffing levels are only as good as, the issues that plague an organization like ours, right? So somebody goes out on sick leave, something happens, somebody quits, right? So those are always challenges that we had, and no agency banks a surplus of officers. So we're really tailoring our services around the headcount that we have. It's kind of a vague question or a vague response, but our staffing levels are adequate right now to support the towns that we have. And we're adding personnel. We just hired a full-time person. We've got another part-timer that just finished up their schooling. So that's something that we're always looking to do. The more people we add, the more hours of coverage that we can provide. So what we'd be looking to do with you all is to identify a target hour per week. So let's just say it's 4. Let's just pretend it's 4 hours. So then we would do our best to commit to those 4 hours to the best of our ability. Nothing is guaranteed, unfortunately. I wish it were, but we've got folks that went out on military leave. We had a couple of folks that had babies and are out on paternity leave. So those are the kinds of things that impact any organization. So what we've done with all of our contracts, and this is something I've done when I took over, is to go to all of these select boards and have these very same conversations about the reality of modern day policing. And that being that it has to be around a very limited amount of police officers that can perform the services that historically, you didn't have a problem finding police officers. Now we're having an unbelievably hard time finding folks. Again, not just us, everybody. State police is challenged, St. Albans PD is challenged, everybody's challenged. So, like I said, what we're doing is we're working with these different towns to come up with a target, and we're doing our best to meet those targets. Does it happen every day? No, it doesn't. We have to make changes and things come up. We're doing our best to make sure that we're doing those obligations to the best of our ability. And so unlike the language of previous contracts where we committed to a certain amount of hours, we can't do that. But what we can do is we can put a target hour on the schedule, and we'll do our best to address those needs. And in all of the contracts that we've had, if you might remember, we used to bill, the office used to bill in advance for services. We don't do that anymore. So what we do now and this is in an effort of being much more transparent, is to bill for the services rendered. So when we come to the end of the month, we would bill you for the actual hours that we perform services for you.
And right now, are you only, like, say the town of Sheldon were to enter into contract with whatever you're able to provide? Well, we have, residents who may have calls to law enforcement and they go to the sheriff's department if we're under contract with you. Does that, if you're on scene responding to something, then court hours and investigative, does that cut into the time allocated for traffic? That's kind of where I'm wondering at with the staffing is how much service can the sheriff's department provide?
Absolutely it does, right? So if we're up there, again, let's say 4 hours is the number, if we're up there for 4 hours and we're dealing with a domestic for 4 hours, then that's the 4 hours. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's just how it unfortunately has to work, right? We've got to pay our folks. Yeah, so that's the way that would work. But also too, like Franklin looking at this as more of a traffic enforcement rather than responding to calls. So you all can think about what that service needs to be for you, and then we can come to some sort of agreement on how to best meet those needs. So what we're trying to do is try to come up with these more customizable partnerships that are meeting needs like Sheldon, and also meeting the needs of other communities that we support, but also thinking about how we utilize those resources to best meet those needs.
Okay. All right, I guess we've got what we need, and we'll discuss this, John, and we'll be back in touch, I guess.
Okay.
And, thanks for getting a hold of us.
Very good. Doc, you also take care.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Alright, so. What's your thoughts? You've got money in the budget, you haven't spent any on village this year.
If we took the money that we have in the budget and divided by $66 per hour, that would give us 660 hours per budget hours. And that would provide us 60.6 hours per month, and you could break that down to 13.75 hours per week. If we did from September till June. But like you said, Franklin, they took the winter months and shrunk them, so we could do the same if we wanted to and get a little heavier in the September, October, November. If we wanted to, but that's just a breakdown of where.
Our old contract with them was 8 hours a week, wasn't it?
10.
It was 10.
The first was 12, and they had to change the second one.
10.
Anything other discussions that have been had in progress on any other possibilities?
I'm waiting for paperwork still from Enosburg, from one of the cities and towns on their contract with Swan. Knows I have that and we have it. We'll be able to bounce it off of Swan's board if they're willing to entertain
Would
that.
that be happening, you think?
I would assume soon, because they're finalized, they've already had the back and forth with their lawyer about the language. And so, just waiting for a copy to be sent over. Just so we can discuss it.
So you think 15 hours is sufficient since we haven't had anything at all? And maybe at the first part, we should up it a little bit to show the presence here, and then maybe cut back to 15 hours. I mean, right now we got nothing and people know it, and if we're a little bit stronger force at first to show them that we're here, maybe it would deter them a little bit. So,
But something to keep in mind is that it's not the town that's saying, we don't want to do 15 hours. It's law enforcement agencies that don't have people to
I
get.
understand that.
Like we contacted St. Albans City PD about entering a full-time contract with them or part-time or as soon as, the sheriff's department last year couldn't fulfill the contract, and they didn't have people to send up here at all. And then speaking, with the current sheriff about they can't commit to 4 hours or whatever,
And I understand.
Yeah,
But
like-
it's,
ideally, yes.
yeah, I mean, at this point, he's not really committed anything
Yep.
because we don't really know what he's got for coverage. So
Yeah.
after all this, we may not get really enough to say our money, so.
But if we possibly could, it would be a good idea maybe for the first 3 months to have extra hours and then cut back some in the winter.
Well, I'd need it
Just-
anyway, I would think it would be better than what we got, because, I mean, if you just watch from where I'm at, you got
Right.
cars going by, you got cars that should be on the road, I see them all the time.
Sit down by my house.
All the time, yeah, I understand, that's a bad word.
It's everywhere,
Yeah.
That's,
I think it's a lot, sorry, go ahead.
what's
I
that?
was gonna say, I think it's a lot more fair to bill after and only the hours that they
Yeah, I
provide,
like
which I
that.
didn't understand previously.
Because if he does run into a staffing problem that week and can't provide the full coverage, or if he, has some other issue that they're working on here in town and we ask him to come back for a few more hours to do traffic, and then we pay the bill at the end.
But the state
That's-
police covers, like, on the main state highways, do they do any, I mean, I see them from time to time, but I don't know how that works.
There's been a little more presence on 105 in the last month here,
Last few months,
but still, I'm traveling it every day and there's a lot of days you don't
no, nothing.
see anything. And then there's other days I have seen state police and I've seen Frank County Sheriff's Department on there. But, yeah, it's,
Stopping and going onto the Kane Road, it's pretty tricky.
but I think any coverage is better than no coverage, so, if we get some, even if it's short term here or whatever, or a 1-year contract. We had a pretty good relationship with the Franklin County Sheriff for quite a few years, and then when they fought so hard to get St. Albans town back, and then all of a sudden they were short-staffed, and so that's when they had all the troubles with the other towns, because they didn't have enough manpower to do everything that they were committed to, plus the new stuff. And so it just kind of dropped some of the smaller ones.
I wonder if you'd entertain doing a 3-month contract getting us to January,
As a trial.
just as a trial.
I mean, that'd be something to consider and say, hey, we want, 10, 15 hours a week for 3 months, and if you're happy with it, we're happy with it,
We'll finish out the rest of the fiscal year.
Do you think maybe a speed bump would at least slow, I mean, I don't know about the highways, but on certain roads where they're just not stopping, do you think maybe a speed bump would be maybe practical for a time, or, I don't know.
I don't know, it might be, I guess, if they put temporary ones that take them down, snowplows.
Well, yeah, for sure.
But, yeah, it might be worth putting one up. Enough people bottom out, they'll slow down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something to consider, I guess. You've done that before in town, haven't you?
Sheldon Road, you
So,
said.
yeah, well, we'll see how we'll have some more talks with Mr. Grismore here. Maybe we can get something going sooner than later and see what we can do.
So we done with that subject now, are we?
I think we are.
I think so.
The reason why I'm here is, I'm wondering what that big stone pile is down here behind, by Jack Dufresne's place, by the railroad tracks. What's that great big stone pile that they're building there?
Well,
Who, Anybody know anything about that stone pile?
Yeah, it's a stockpile of material, so if, when the pits are closed in the winter there, if we have a
The thing is, they're not closed.
washout or something.
They're, like Charbonneau's got a great big yard that's full of stone. Why, how come we don't just use their stone? Instead of tying up all this money into this mountain you guys got going on down there?
Do they open at 3 AM when there's a washout?
No, but are you gonna move that load of stone in a day? Have you seen how big that load of stone is? How many loads of stone are in that pile right now? It'd take you a week to move that pile. And you guys are going to Swanton to get stone. Which one of them is the cheaper one? Is it Borble or is it Swanton stone is cheaper? Is there a reason why you guys are using Swanton stone?
I think that stuff that comes out of Orville's pit's sharp, cuts tires. You know, we've used it on Sweet Hollow Road before we paved that road, and we had some cut tires there. It's a harder stone.
At a Borble's pit? And you don't have a problem at all with the black stone? Never get no flat tires, you know?
I don't know if it gets on, I guess, but the stuff that's on, it's a softer stone, I know that.
Like you said, at 3 AM, if you need stone, you're never gonna move that pile. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stone and they're going in there every day dumping it, and we get a lot of money tied up into that. I don't know how much stone in there. Do you guys know how many loads of stone are down in that hole? Any idea?
No.
There's a lot. And I'm just looking for the town to save a little bit of money is what I'm looking at. Because all our taxes, you know how it is with taxes, at least I do.
Yeah, well, that stone's not gonna run away on us, it'll be there.
Yeah, but then you gotta look at all the manpower moving it and everything. Like if you need a load of stone and you drive we'll say you're going to Swan, but if you were gonna go to Borble's, it's only 5 miles from here to Borble's.
Yeah.
And then you wouldn't have to load it again. You just pull in, you got your load on in about 2 buckets. And down here, how are you loading it down here with a backhoe? 'Cause you're gonna, I could see having a pile there if you need it. But now, okay, what is that, 1/2 inch stone? Or driveway mix, does anybody know?
I think it's plant mix, 3/4 inch plant mix.
3/4 inch plant mix, you got all that there. But we'll say you need 2 inch stone. What are you gonna do, start another pile, 2 inch stone now? That's all, I'm just wondering why we're making all these piles and we're not even burning it up. It's just a lot of money tied up, but I guess it don't really matter to you guys, but it does me.
Yeah, I can look into it.
But that's why I came in here, I'm just wondering how come we got such a big pile there and we just keep dumping load after load in there, just pushing it up. I mean, it was a hole, there's no hole there now. Now there's a mountain because the hole's buried and now it's going up and up and up. But anyway, that's why I came in here.
Okay.
You all have a good day.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. We'll
Yeah,
check
take
into
care.
it. Andy, you guys ready? Thanks for coming in, Roddy.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you.
Witness table. Thanks for making time on your calendar for us. I had sent along a letter from the Historical Society. I hope everybody got a copy of it. And I also forwarded a letter from the Division of Historic Preservation that I just came in your packets as well. The Historical Society understands that the bridge on Bridge Street is in need of urgent replacement, and I understand that there's a fairly short timeline that the Agency of Transportation is offering for that reconstruction. The Historical Society has expressed interest in the letter that you have in considering an alternative to the prosaic concrete and steel bridge that's built there now. John Lewandowski here has done a great deal of work in covered bridge restoration and construction. He's a nationally recognized expert on covered bridge construction. Lives in the Northeast Kingdom. A long drive for him tonight, both coming and going back, but he was willing to come and speak to the issues of modern covered bridges in 21st century Vermont, and I wondered if perhaps you'd give him some time.
Absolutely.
Hi, I've been selecting for 40 years in the town of Standard. I know you guys don't need to be out all night. We'll try to be halfway efficient here. Also, I'm not selling anything. I'm 77 years old. I'm very surprised and I'm very involved in building this bridge in any way, so maybe helping to encourage it to happen. Although I still am working, but as much on church steeples as bridges. But I try to be encouraging here. Anyhow, a lot of towns, not only in Vermont but around the country, are building new wooden covered bridges. For one thing, what's the date of that bridge over there?
This one's 1932 is the
Right.
concrete bridge.
Right. And there actually hasn't been a lot of improvement in the longevity of concrete bridges. Because most of the wooden bridges are from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They last longer and maintenance costs are shorter and more expensive to build. There's no secret about that. But they're not necessarily twice as expensive to build. They're some portion. I'll talk about a few bridges. The town of North Harland had a pair of twin bridges. And one was, one was blown over in the 38 hurricane, actually. But anyhow, and they ended up with a concrete and steel bridge there. For 38, it was a complete ruinous condition. The town wanted a covered bridge again, and the state said that if I could build the superstructure for the same price as the concrete superstructure, they'd fund the whole thing. Now, I did that, but it wasn't enough money. I didn't lose money. I just made an hourly wage. Most people will not go out of their way to do that. But anyhow, it worked out. It's a nice bridge. You can see it from the interstate highway. There's two bridges right away from 91. In 1988, a big storm took out a bridge on the New York State Thruway. It took out a concrete and steel bridge, but it also took out a bridge in Maine. It was from the 1850s and it washed it downstream, called Lowe's Bridge. That was 148 in the clear, which is this one. I paced out around somewhere between 130 and 140 in the clear down here. Anyhow, they, for some reason or other, the state of Maine decided to build back the wooden bridge, and we did that. And I actually am not privy to what it would have cost to build a concrete and steel bridge, but you wouldn't have necessarily done it in one span. Maybe a big steel bridge, you would have. Steel truss you would have. But anyhow, that one cost, I think, $650,000. That was a while ago. That was 1991. There's a county in Ohio, Ashtabula County, it's built 17 new wooden bridges, including one that in multiple 182-foot spans is 631 feet long. It's not an unusual thing to do, but maybe you ask yourself, the question of why you want to do it, it's not that it's cheaper, it is because they last longer. You gotta want it. Someone in town's gotta want it. It makes your town very more attractive, you might say. Maybe you're not trying to attract people to the town. Maybe it make you like your town better. But they're good things. People everywhere love them for some reason. I'll just go on like that. But anyhow, I built a number of other new bridges. Guelph, Ontario wanted one. We built a 132-foot bridge in the clear in the park. That's the big trick is clear span. The big Blenheim Bridge in New York State was built by a Vermonter in 1854. 228 feet in the clear. That's a substantial bridge of any sort, short of suspension bridges. That got taken out by that, not by Irene, by the next storm a week later in New York State. But that, they managed to get FEMA money to put that one back again. And put it back accurately too. So let's put it this way. It's 130 feet. It's no big trick to build a wooden bridge that big. Right near where I live, maybe you guys have seen this. the Fisher Railroad Bridge, which is in Woolcott. I don't know if any of you have ever seen that, but there used to be ones just like it in Swan, where the 3-span, and what's called a double lattice. But anyhow, the Fisher Bridge is 100 feet in the clear, it was. It carried trains weighed 375,000 pounds, several times a day. So it's not even a technical problem, and it's nothing new, although it's unusual. I'm trying to think where else in the state of Vermont new ones. See, Vermont has almost 100 original ones. It had 700 before the 27 flood, lost 600 in that flood, as long as a vast number of other, whatever, well, there weren't a lot of concrete steel bridges around that, there were some, but lost them too. Lindenville has a thing called the Sanborn Bridge, which is what I call the paddle for truss. That's 118 in clear, I think. And they've got the plans and some of the money raised to rebuild that. That's going to cost, they think, 1.2 million to put that back together again. The bridge exists, but it'd actually be cheaper to build a new bridge. But you would spend probably, to get what was down a double barrel bridge that is 2 lanes with a third truss, 2 outer trusses and a third truss in the middle, like the one at the Shelburne Museum, and like the pulp mill in Middlebury, which is probably from the 1850s as well. I know. I think, Andy, you said this one was 1836?
Yeah, the Division of Historic Preservation puts 1836 on this bridge. I'm not knowing to tell one's their date, so.
No, that would have made it the oldest bridge standing in the state right now. Pulp mill is not 1820s, 1850s probably. But
So I don't know where the board is in advancing design concepts or the process of moving the bridge replacement forward with AOT, but I think it's really important that the Historical Society's willingness to advocate and be a voice in the larger community to assess community support for the project. We want to be on the same page with the select board, and it would help if we had some direction from the board regarding where this conversation is with AOT now. The bridge at the Shelburne Museum, we've always spoken of as the twin to the bridge that was burned here. The same Burr arch truss, although this bridge that replaced the existing concrete bridge wasn't built in a single clear span. Now we have a 3-span bridge down there where on April 7th of 1932 it was one single long almost 140 foot clear span. I don't know if AOT would demand that a replacement bridge share that existing middle supports and go back for a 3-span bridge instead of replacing something more like the original single-span clear bridge.
Maybe you'd like to get rid of piers and river if possible. How did you guys do in the flood? Did you not get affected over here?
Not bad at all, no, we didn't have any road damage.
Over my way, a colossal mess. And many roads are still not open. There's huge ditches that if you go into it at night, you'll get lost. But anyhow, you can keep piers out of the river. It's extremely desirable. And 130 is no big deal. Lots of bridges were, like I say, some were built in 250, lows were 100, 150 feet wooden bridges, including railroad bridges.
And I know the modern loads are, AOT continues to raise load limits over the highway. I don't know that they're building highways any stouter, but the loads certainly are, the allowable loads seem to be going up in the length, and they do work with industry to accommodate wide loads and tall loads, and those are concerns that that would need to be addressed. The Sheldon Museum bridge has a full 11-foot lane width, and it seems to be a 14-foot portal. I may be wrong on the portal height, but plainly it would meet the standards for modern highway construction as it was when the Sheldon Bridge was built back in the 1850s. So I don't know if the select board would feel that recreating a double-barrel covered bridge such as we enjoyed for the first 100 years, bridging Black Creek here. I don't know if you have a position on it, but I believe it would be a significant economic boost to the community. It would attract a great deal of interest. We're encouraged to speak of recreational tourism and the millions of dollars put into the 2 rail trails here that intersect in Sheldon. It speaks to the state's belief that ecotourism and recreational tourism is worth putting money into. So I think imagining that a look back to the double-barrel bridge would be consistent with the state's posture on economic development in even in the late blooming Franklin County, where we're now becoming linked with Chittenden County in terms of economic growth and so forth. But our community is still a small town with small town values, and I think this bridge would be an easy sell for the larger community, with the understanding that some trucking interests would have reservations. But I think the larger community would benefit greatly in terms of increased property values.
If you're building a new bridge, you can make it the H20, H25, it doesn't matter. It's only old bridges that are hard to bring up to that level. You're right about the height, but even if you gotta build a new bridge, historic preservation won't demand you make it exactly like the old bridge. You may have to make the trusses taller, which is good. Every inch you get to the height of the truss makes the truss stronger, plus you get more opening too. It's possible, it'd be nice to have it double barreled. Some people will complain they're gonna run into the middle of the bridge, to the middle truss. Although I mentioned that in the town I live in, we resisted the state's desire to widen the roads and widen the bridges. We've engaged in acts of extensive signage and guardrails, and to make 18-foot wide bridges look like they're smaller than that in one lane, we succeed in slowing people down on the roads, which I don't know if you have a problem with that here. We have a problem with the town being used as a fast way to get to work in Stowe, which is a long ways away. And we try. So anyhow, but you also, like I said, the bridges in Ohio that they built, some of them are 38 feet wide inside. But you can't do that. You can't do the joist with natural timber. You got to use glue laminated timber, unless you trust the joist. But it's possible with a new bridge, you can make it so it can bear whatever load it has to bear, whatever load they're stealing concrete was going to bear. As long as it's a historic bridge, you have a lot of trouble. It's a historic. You haven't had a historic bridge, but it's not there now. But you can build the same thing. You may have to size it up a little bit.
So I wonder if the board has issues or concerns or desires about the direction that the AOT is going to steer this project. I suspect they're the...
Yeah, we haven't really even started having any discussions. We've got a community questionnaire here that we need to fill out to get started there, and we haven't had too many discussions on the bridge itself yet at all. We're not sure where the state's heading with it yet.
But we do have a timeline. AOT has posited a timeline for this, so that 2025.
No, I don't believe so. I think they've done. We've got them. They what was it there? They wanted to do.
Originally they wanted us to do bridge Bridge 11 that is on, anyway, Crucial Road. They originally wanted us to redo that bridge. And we as a select board were like, that's not our major concern. It doesn't serve a wide variety of people and it's not, we'd rather much put if we can switch it to get the funding to replace Bridge Street instead of Bouchard Road, we'd much rather do that. They allowed us to switch the funding from Bouchard Road to Bridge Street instead. So that's the only reason that is getting redone is because they're allowing us to take it, instead of redoing Bouchard Road, to take it to Bridge Street. So whether they would allow us to turn it into a wood bridge, I have no clue.
Governor Coonan, you're all too young to remember her.
I remember her.
She had commissioned a report through the Agency of Transportation on using timber in Vermont highway construction. And I think this would be an interesting nod to the report that was generated, indicating that modern timber technology puts concrete and steel bridges and timber frame bridges in the same classroom, so to speak. I had understood that just by the degree of degradation in the deck on that bridge, that there was an urgency that was building to replace it. So I believe that, I don't know if Agency of Transportation would express that to the board, or whether that's just becoming anecdotal afoot in the community. But if the bridge is going to be scheduled to rebuild again, I'm glad we're having this conversation. And I'd like to see if perhaps the select board wants to advance a design proposal for the community to get some, through your questionnaire perhaps, to get some feedback from the larger community.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's, as we progress with this, I'm sure we'll have some more discussions with you and the Historical Society and what your thoughts are for a bridge down there, and we'll see what the state has to say, I guess. We haven't started dealing with them yet on it at all, so I'm sure we will be as we move along here.
No, I appreciate that. The apparent urgency expressed in our letters may have been premature, but good to have the conversation underway. Thank you. Any questions perhaps that lend themselves to Mr. Lewandowski's expertise?
You mentioned laminate to hold the span or the weights and so forth. How are those laminates held? Is just strictly glued together?
Yeah, some bridges are built entirely with glue lamps. Some tremendous hockey arenas and things like that,
Yep.
built entirely with. Yeah, I've actually seen it done in a factory in North Carolina, for instance, or in upstate Unadilla makes glue lamps. And they installed 172-foot long glue lamps in a wooden bridge in Downsville, New York. Yeah, it was an old bridge. But anyhow, yeah, it's generally southern yellow pine because it takes glue very well and it's strong too. And they just lay it all out, slather it with glue under very controlled humidity and temperature conditions, and fasten on a force, and they produce those things. And so you can get them, you can buy them any length you want, really. You can order them 100 and something. They're harder to transport around the countryside, that's all. But I wouldn't build the whole bridge out of it. Most people would suggest, if you can do something in natural timber, you're probably better off. But if you wanted to get a span of the floor of 35 feet or something like that, you might need glue lamp, unless you really got tremendous oak timbers or something like that, or hardwood timbers.
How long would it take to build a bridge like that?
No, a few months.
Few months?
Most of it gets built off-site. You just make all the parts, put the trucks together, take it apart, bring it there, and usually they would then be built. Let's say you have all the parts ready, then you build on the road right there. Then you either roll it across on a false bridge, or even the biggest cranes, 450-ton hydraulic, probably wouldn't pick this bridge up and put it out there. A 650-ton hydraulic just did a bridge in Pennsylvania, a wooden bridge, it was 128, but that's really pushing it. You can roll them easier than that.
The covered bridge that was built down here at the junction, now replaced, long ago replaced that in 1940 with a steel bridge. That had been laid out in the meadow at Patton Horrigan's, and then rolled out, presumably across a false bridge to set in place. We have a very neat picture of the bridge being built in the meadow. Pretty fascinating. So I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
There's an error and mission we have to approve for the grand list in that file.
Yep.
Okay.
What is that?
There's also grants in there that just need to be signed.
These need to be signed.
Yep. Just don't mix the paperwork up.
This one needs to be signed too.
It's Shawville and
This one's,
Sweet Hollow. Thank you, Brooke. That's what it is, Shawville and Field.
I don't care.
I don't know what that
Just don't just sign it up. Sign halfway down. Sign where you look.
I'll read the meeting minutes from the previous meeting. Select Board Water Commissioner meeting for August 14th, 2023. Held here at the town office at 7:30. Present was David Kluber, Richard Piazmi, Stephen Dodd, Nick Norris, Kim Dufresne. Robert Harnish was via the phone. I opened the meeting at 7:30 and read the agenda. We added the executive session to discuss town ordinances. 7:33, Nick motioned to go into executive session, seconded by David, motion carried. At 8:10, we exited executive session, we discussed ordinances for the town. We entered back into the regular meeting. We spoke with Robert Harnish via the phone about the Vermont Declaration of Inclusion Initiative. The board will review and bring it to the voters to consider and vote on in the town meeting. Secretary updated the board on projects completed. The new utility truck has been detailed, but needs to have running boards installed. They cleaned up the 2015 and is ready to be sold. Truck drive materials from the wastewater department to Coventry for disposal. Brought the 2018 valve works, had a wood cylinder installed. Road striping is completed on class 2 roads. Brick asset to check and clean culverts in front of the fire department. And the new highway employees started on August 28th. They started on August 28th, which was today. Signed some warrants. Read the meeting minutes from July 24th. Rick motion to approve is read, seconded by David. Motion carried. Board set the 2023 tax rate. Municipal rate is 0.5123. The local agreement is 0.0016 for a total of 0.5139. We approved a road cut for James Weston. Nick updated the board on the police contract. Franklin County Sheriff John Grismore will be attending the next meeting. And 9:05, David motion to adjourn, seconded by Nick, and the motion carried. Take a motion to accept these minutes as read.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second on that.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So this municipal system section grant recipient here, that's for the scoping study down here. Right, Sheldon's, oh no, this is the Sheldon Springs Bicycle and Pedestrian Scoping Study. Okay. Review the form, sign it, return it to me as soon as possible. Who's gonna be the full-time municipal employee in responsible charge of the project? Bill?
No, that's the planning commission.
That what?
The planning commission's doing that part.
Okay. So I can just put planning commission or they need a
I
system
think
name?
they need it. I think the board signed off on it. I'm not sure.
So we don't have to sign this, it's all.
I think someone has to sign off on it.
Yeah.
I don't think, but the planning commission is going to do the grant.
So, yeah, it's very nice. It's a good bird. She's, you do that to somebody that was?
Yep.
change these and get rid of them. Okay. So we have a request to correct manifest errors in the grand list. The following entries in the 2023 grand list require correction as outlined below. With your authorization, adjustments will be made to the grand list as appropriate. Corrected tax bills will then be generated. We have, you saw that last night.
Yeah, right.
Amy Perezinski. Property owner is entitled to the $40,000 reduction in value as a qualified disabled veteran. So adjust the base assessed value down by $40,000 from 242,100 to 202,100. Authorize the generation and mailing of a corrected tax bill. And then we have William Irish. This property owner is entitled to a $40,000 reduction in value as a qualified disabled veteran. Adjust the base value assessed down by $40,000 from 247,200 to 207,200. Authorize generation and mailing of a corrected tax bill. I have a motion to accept this corrections.
Make a motion.
All right, second on that.
One second.
Any discussion on this?
Nope.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah. That's the, this is the letter we were talking about.
We have to go to executive tonight before the end of the meeting. That's personnel.
Okay. We can do that. This is from Daniel Beard from State of Vermont Agency of Transportation Structures Department has placed Town Highway 2 Bridge 11 on their list of scoping. As such, we'd like to get the town's input on the structure and other concerns the town may have. Attached is a questionnaire that can assist you with this. If you could forward this to interested parties inside the town that we missed, who they send it to? They sent it to us and regional planning.
What bridge?
State of Vermont. Term is by October 12th.
Which bridge is that, the one?
Bridge Street.
Oh, that, okay.
Anybody else want to see the one that's in the store?
You've already seen it, right? That's what you looked at.
That is new.
It just goes through.
Say I was asleep, I don't know.
Slow season period of time from May through October, November, so that's where business we need to take up before we go into executive session?
I ran into Jake Kane and invited him to one of our September meetings to give us an update on the CBD.
Okay.
He's gonna check his schedule. I think he possibly is gonna show up on the September 11th meeting, but
Alright.
Did Vern include you on the email about the school?
I didn't see anything. Where are we? I don't see anything.
He said they're still, I spoke to him last week about something else. He spoke that they're still moving forward. It's not as far on top of the list, but they're still moving forward. Pete thought he'd have something in the next few weeks for them to look at, or us and them to look at. So it's not been forgotten. It's just not as high on the school's radar.
Yeah.
Question for everybody else. I was thinking of taking the flags down around the village, September 12th, just after Patriots Day. Is everybody okay with that? Just getting a little wet and cold.
Yeah,
Just pick 'em up.
yeah, that'd be good.
Are you housing those or where do you go?
I just take them, roll them up and put them in my basement.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for doing that.
I just wanted to make sure, I was trying to wait until every holiday was ready-ish, then I to get it.
Yeah.
Next.
Forgotten, yeah.
Alright. If we're good with everything else, take a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session and then adjourn the meeting to exit.
Okay. Got a second on that?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Had to get on this.
Yeah, show us here.
All those in favor of going to executive and then adjourning when we get done that?
Aye.
Opposed? Alright, so we're good.